Yeah, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along.
Come on along and welcome aboard to Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, of course, on this Friday, TGIF, 7th of August. Welcome in. Todd Leary's here, of course. Alec Lasley's going to join us today from thehoosier.com. We'll talk some basketball recruiting for the Hoosiers, but lots of football to talk about. Some of it's fun stuff. Some of it's not fun for Purdue. Rondale Moore, he's gone, baby. He is the most electrifying player in the Big Ten in the last year or two. And to be honest with you, he would have gone down as one of the greatest football players in Purdue history. Statistically wise, he probably was going to break every record they had offensively. But he gone. Injury problems, and man, you've got to feel for Jeff Brom because you just lost your best player that you've never, ever really got to use.
I don't even you're right. It's Purdue, so I maybe shouldn't feel sorry for them, but I do. And that is from just an athletic and competitive standpoint. I'll just tell you, other than watching, I can remember when they played Ohio State a couple years ago, how fun and exciting he was to watch. I remember watching him in high school down in Louisville, and just an incredible player. That's a tough break. And I'll be honest with you, Jim, it makes you start to think. I mean, we want a college football season to happen a lot, and it makes you start to think how many other guys are going to do this, and will there be any IU guys do it?
Well, I'm telling you right now, they keep helping Indiana because the two that there's not just two, but two kind of high profile. That one's one right there, Rondale Moore, one of the top players of the country. Minnesota's top receiver, and they had some good ones. He's stepping out. So there's two games that Indiana has to play against cross-divisional opponents, Minnesota and Purdue, that just got a lot easier for Indiana. And with the schedule they have that came out yesterday, we're going to talk about, they need all the help they can get. My God. We talked about that some yesterday, but their first four games, 3 out of their first 4 games are against top 12 teams. They played number 12, number 7, and number 2 in 3 out of their first 4 games. And half of their games overall, half of their games this season will be against teams currently ranked in the top 20, top 18, no less. That's brutal.
Well, when last year, when Indiana fans complained in the basketball season about it being too easy, an early season schedule, that's one problem the football team is not going to have to hear this year, because they started out. I mean, it's great. The one point that I think Dustin Schutte made yesterday that's a great point is Indiana had a really tough early season matchup already scheduled for the first game of the year with that at Wisconsin game, September 4th, and so they've been preparing since the day after the season ended last year in the bowl game. They have been preparing for that game. So that didn't change. And that's a positive. That's a lot of teams can't say that. And so the real difference becomes that second week they come back home and you've got Penn State, who is, supposed to be a top 5 or 10 team this year. So it's a great schedule. It's just, they could very easily start the year out, with only 2 wins in the first 6 games. And that being the case, then we talked about yesterday how the back part of the schedule is not near as tough. They're going to almost be forced to win all 4 of those games at the end of the year.
Yeah, like I said, that just got tremendously easier. You just took the heart out of a Purdue team, which they played them without him last year. But the difference that makes, at least I guess for Purdue, the better. At least going in, you're not going to have him. So you're
right. Don't you think this is just this is the first domino? Like, don't you think this is like if you're Justin Fields at Ohio State, would you play? If you're Trevor Lawrence at Clemson, would you play? Nope, I wouldn't.
Me personally, again, I would, but I'm looking at it from a different standpoint. I'm not at that. You would put
a potential $450 million contract, which is what Kansas City guy just got. And I'm saying best case scenario, but you would put that on the line to play one more year of college football that's already got an asterisk next to it anyway.
I don't think you're putting that much on. I wouldn't see it as putting that much on the line. I would see it as just a season.
What if you had a career-ending injury? What if you had a career-ending injury?
Then you can do that any year, though.
But I'm saying if you don't play, you're going to get drafted. End of the story. No. I'm only saying the guys.
So we have to take COVID. We'd have to take COVID out of the situation, though, because the COVID is clouding it. I think because I don't think these guys would be doing this if it wasn't for COVID. Or maybe they would be, and they're using it as a shield. I don't know, because I'm not in there with them, and I don't know. But I
think that's probably the best way to look at it. I think it is a shield. I think it's an excuse. It's a built-in excuse. It's a good one. Everyone's going to understand it. But then,
no one's going to call you out on it.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think that's a business decision you would have to make. And look, I consider myself extremely competitive. Like I don't like losing, and I want to go out and compete as much as possible. But in this scenario, from a money standpoint, when these guys are 45 or 50 years old, I think they would look back on this decision and think it was a good career business decision of sitting out. And I hate it when people sit out.
Well, it's definitely going to change the complexity of the season. Now, we always have that stuff happen. Kids go on, and that's what's going to happen. But this is a very, very unique season where you're having people do it at a time when they wouldn't do it and doing it when they wouldn't normally do it at all, period. But it is what it is. But again, I get back to my point. This is going to help Indiana because Indiana's not losing anyone via the draft that I'm aware of right now. And as long as their opponents keep losing people, it's going to help them out, especially with games. Those two games, they're non-divisional. One's a rival. You got one at home, but you got to go on the road for the other one, and it's going to be difficult. So any help they can get there, because again, I think this team can go 6-4, and that is a 9-win regular season. People, that is big time, and it's without having those 3 tune-up games. So we'll have to see, of course, but I think this team can. Do some good stuff, but my God, you keep looking at that schedule. 3 out of the first 4 against the top 18, half your games against the top 25 or top 18 right now. It's crazy. But we'll see how it goes. It's going to be fun. Fans, Penn State came out yesterday. They are not allowing fans in the stands. All right, at Beaver Stadium. It holds 105,000 or 106,500, I think, is their capacity. Trust me, if they're giving that up, which they are, and the money that they're giving up, I can promise you right now, Hoosier fans, forget about attending an Indiana football game this year. There is no way in Hades that's going to happen now. I don't see it. They've gone through too much trouble of putting all these protocols in place, Todd Leary, the time, the effort, the expense, just all of that goes into it. And they're not going to turn around and after doing all that, and with all the worry and all that's placed on the players' safety and health, and they're not going to turn around and invite people into the stands. I mean, I know that they're separated, but it doesn't matter. It's not going to happen, and I'm sure that they'll be coming out soon to say that, but that's just me prognosticating.
Yeah, I mean, this is the way it's happened, through all sports kind of and through all programs across the country. You see one of these big schools do it, or you see one of these big conferences do it, and then, the other ones kind of follow suit. And, Penn State you probably see Ohio State and Michigan come out and do the same thing pretty soon because they want to give people enough time. I mean, heck, we're inside a month before that first game. They want to give people enough time to adjust their schedules and I guess probably figure out, look at what the NBA did. The NBA did an incredible job of, figuring out a way to get the fans involved. That Michelob Ultra fan cam board they've got up on the side. I mean, people are loving that thing, and it's cool. College football can kind of do the same thing, not using the same idea, but come up with an idea that gets the fans involved. I don't know what it'll be from an IU standpoint, but you got to try to take this situation and turn it to a positive and figure out how to make the best of it. And I don't think Indiana's going to lose any fan base based on this thing.
No, not at all. Well, let me tell you what Penn State's doing. You want to talk about some strong arming? They're telling their fans that if you opt out of your season tickets this year, which you have the right to do because of COVID, and don't pay, you lose priority. Your place in priority line. So they're saying,
hang on a minute. Hey,
I understand
pay for the tickets.
Yes, if you don't pay for if you opt out, you can opt out. It's no big deal, except for you're going to lose your place in line next year.
Yeah, that's a difficult choice.
They're like, oh, no worries. Don't want to. Hey, understand completely. Don't worry about it. But of course, you're going to lose your spot in line.
Get in line, and we'll see you in 113 years.
Let me tell you, then the size of that stadium, you're not giving up. There's not going to be too many people to give that up, but because they're looking at losing millions and millions of dollars. This is a team. This is a school that has 106,000 people in the stands every game.
Has the NFL come out and said they're having no fans?
No.
Has the NFL
no
ruled on this yet?
Nope. That'll be a different situation, I think, but I don't know.
You do? Why? Why would it be different?
I don't know. Because again, I think that ultimately there will be no fans for football as well.
Yeah.
But we'll have to wait and see. They did. So there was pictures out yesterday of the masks that they're the different types, styles that they're trying to use in practice. But yeah, there's no way there's going to be any fans this year. Now that's a huge loss for people like Penn State. It's not as much for Indiana. It's still a loss, but Indiana averages 28,000 fans, maybe 30, maybe. Penn State gets 100,000, 105,000 a game. Not they get. That's what they get. So you take that and multiply it by every game. That's what, 3 times what Indiana's pulling in?
Minimum.
Easy. So think about that. Think about the money those schools, Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, Tennessee.
But this would have been a year. This would have been a year where that average would have gone way up for Indiana because every opponent would have been a good one. Every opponent would have been a Big Ten one. It wouldn't have been, and no disrespect, but it wouldn't have been, Western Michigan or Western Kentucky coming in.
Yeah, you think that, but I don't know. I've seen.
Look when Ohio State comes in here. They're not full, but they're close to full.
You know why? Because Ohio State brings extra people,
and so would Michigan, and so would I'm agreeing with you. I'm just saying they would.
But they're bringing the extra people, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely
they're still
higher.
Buying the tickets. They're still
definitely
buying the
higher
tickets.
attended.
It helps Indiana.
Definitely higher attended, no doubt. We're getting close to break. Let's see. Looking to a different screen, and my clock's in a different place today, Jimmy. That's why I have to use my phone. We'll talk about Alec Lasley's going to join us. We'll talk some recruiting news when we come back too. But also, we talk about the seriousness of these college kids. Are they going to how serious they'll take this? Well, Louisville soccer kicked 3 players off.
Yep.
3 players kicked off the team because of COVID violations. We'll talk about that later, too, how the responsibility of these student athletes, they're going to have to take responsibility. They want to play these games, too. They have to be responsible. And I understand it sucks that you're in college and, hey, I want to do – sorry, there's a lot of stuff we'd all like to be doing and we're not doing. It's just tough. Bone up, man. We got to take a break. We'll be back. Alec Lasley's going to join us next. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat. Coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. We're back with more right after this.
Tuesday's gray and Wednesday too. Thursday, I don't care about you. It's Friday, I'm in love.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. This is Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary. Indiana Sports Beat is now a part of the Rivals Network. You can go to thehoosier.com to sign up. It's free. Catch the show there each day live or at your convenience. You can also like or follow us on Facebook, follow the show's rebroadcast anywhere you podcast. If we're not on a radio station where you live, we should be. Let your local station know they need to carry Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary, or simply go to thehoosier.com.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic, safe, effective, even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
This is former Indiana basketball player Brian Evans, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
If you need help, your hope dangling by a string, of sharing your suffering to make you well.
Welcome back, Indiana. Sports Beat coming to you from the golf club at Eagle Point Studios on this Friday, and joined now by Alec Lasley from thehoosier.com. Make sure you go to thehoosier.com for complete coverage of Indiana athletics and the Big Ten. Welcome in, Alec. How's it going, brother?
Good, guys. How you guys doing?
Cannot complain. We've got lots of fun stuff to talk about. Jim Harbaugh and Ron Day are fighting again, so we'll get into that later on. Looking forward to talking about that. But a lot of basketball that's coming up. Not a lot happening in the recruiting world this weekend, or this week. It was kind of quiet.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously, things are pretty consistent in terms of, those core group of guys that I used talking to. Not a lot of new names are really getting brought up right now, and I don't think a lot really will, at least like serious guys that IU will be taking a look at. But you have that main group of guys, and I think the attention's kind of been more on the former IU players, Thomas Bryant, OG, playing in the NBA bubble, doing really good out there. So I think that's been kind of more of the talking point over the last week or so than actually real recruiting stuff going on.
Yeah, and then this weekend we've got a big one to look forward to, as a battle of IU recruits will take place up at Indianapolis, Finch Creek, as Indy Heat is taking on the Indy Elite. And, man, that's going to be a collision of power right there, as Trey Kaufman and Logan Duncombe and the Indy Elite will take on an Indy Heat team that is just packed. We were just talking about, Alec.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you got Caleb First, Blake Wesley, Pierce Thomas, a bunch of other, D1 guys, mid-major guys as well. I mean, it's going to be pretty exciting to obviously watch them go at it in a time where, most of the AAU events that have gone on so far have been, pretty much blowouts for at least Indiana Elite. Just the level of competition that they played isn't really, up to, the standards that obviously Logan Duncombe and Trey Kaufman are used to playing against. So it'll be really not only interesting and exciting, but to really see kind of what these guys do up against each other. And obviously that competitive nature is really going to come out with those top guys going at each other.
Todd Leary, this is going to be in essence, an East-West Indiana all-star game going on this weekend with that talent lineup.
It really is. And, this is a matchup that probably would have happened 4 or 5 times in a regular AAU summer or season. So it's good that they're putting it together. I think it's awesome. I'd be interested in knowing. I mean, they should have probably put this together and sold some TV rights and had a little 3-game series or something going on, mimic the NBA playoffs a little bit. It probably was an opportunity to come out and get these guys out on the court. As Indiana fans, look, you talk about where this thing is. I couldn't wait to get up there and watch it. I'm excited to see these guys get out on the court, and what would have been a time I could have watched them play 10 times in the summer. It just hasn't been that case of that. So yeah, it's a good time for this, and I'm excited they're doing it.
Are you heading up?
I will be up there. Willie's playing in the tournament this weekend as well, so I'll be up there. I don't know his schedule yet, so I'm not sure if I'll get to go over and watch those games, but I'm sure I'll jaunt over there at some point.
Looking forward to, man. If this was a normal situation, I would definitely be heading up there. I may try to still, but with the COVID and all that, I know how crazy. After already having gone to some of those, Alec, it's if you're not a parent, even the media, it's much more difficult this year getting in to see these things. Teams are having to stand outside to wait to go in, so they're having an even number of swap off of 1-for-1 for people inside, people outside, or people inside. Only the capacity has been lowered so much. But man, can you imagine the demand of people wanting to get in to see this game?
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely crazy. And the fun thing about it too is, you have the younger age groups, so the 22s are playing earlier as well. You have a bunch of other age groups with the same thing, Indy Heat against Indiana Elite the whole day. And that obviously the game that everyone is really excited for is obviously the 21s there. But you got CJ Gunn, Tay Davis, Trey Jackson Davis's brother, Tavon Jackson, all playing for the 22 Indy Heat team, who's obviously taken on a bunch of IU recruits as well in the Indiana Elite squad a little bit earlier on in the afternoon. So, all this stuff that they're putting together right now is just super fun, especially during the times where, again, you're not really able to go out and see a lot of these big time matchups on the AAU circuit, which, we're normally used to seeing at this time.
Indiana's recruiting, everyone knows who they're chasing. And of course, Trey Kaufman is one of the top targets left right now that they're chasing in that class. The recruiting is not going to change as far as visits. I don't see visits happening and probably until maybe next summer at the earliest, to be honest with you. And for me, that eliminates Virginia for Trey Kaufman. I think that he's already made it known that there's pretty much a top 3. When North Carolina made the offer, I was like, they're way too late and they're way too far away. But there's no doubt I think Trey Kaufman is going to decide, even though he's a very smart kid and he's going to do this from an academic standpoint as well. Those are 3 schools that are academically superior already. Virginia's great, but they're too far away. Indiana and Purdue. I think ultimately he's going to end up at Indiana. Alec?
Yeah, I mean, I think, the writing's kind of on the wall when it comes to that. I am interested to see, kind of where the next decision is from the NCAA in terms of visits. Obviously, they've been kind of doing it month to month at this point, or like an extra month out. But I think everyone, just like you said, doesn't really expect any sort of visits to happen at least through the end of 2020. So, I mean, I think it would honestly just be better if they came out and said, hey, no visits are going to happen until January or February or anything like that. I think that would help not only some of these coaches, but, more the recruits that will now, fully know kind of what their next 3, 4, 5 months really look like. And obviously that's going to be them focusing on their high school seasons and not really worried about, hey, when am I going to be able to get out to this place, or when am I going to be able to go to this place? So I think it's going to be interesting to see kind of when that decision does come from the NCAA, but I think they need to kind of eventually make more of a profound statement in terms of these visits instead of just pushing it back a month and just kind of saving themselves time and not really looking out for obviously these guys who are getting ready to make probably the biggest decision of their life, obviously up to this point, but something that's, going to shape them for the next, 20, 30 years.
When you talk about visits, Alec, are you talking about visits where the kids come to the campus or the coaches go to the kids' house?
Both. Neither.
Both, but more so with the the kids actually getting out and taking more of these official visits, because again, we've kind of talked about it. You've seen it more on the football side with some of these recruits, obviously spending their own money with their family and just walking around campus, but obviously going to school as an athlete is more than just going to school as a student. So you really need that feel of that athletic kind of department, what you're going to be doing, how you're going to be living. And I know, a lot of these recruits are saying, these virtual visits are helpful, but there's nothing like, obviously we all know it. We've all been down to IU. There's just something about when you're on campus that just kind of blows you away. And I don't think, you can really, really get that in a virtual kind of setting.
I just don't. I think that we're overblowing the impact those visits really have.
Well, it's funny you say that, because my next question was going to be to you, and I was going to ask you if you, and I know this is just you and yourself, you can't speak for other kids, but going back to when you were being recruited, and let's say that you had offers from Purdue and Indiana, and I'm going to ask you to decide between those two schools, but are you really looking at the facilities? I'm of the mind that kids know kind of already when they're going someplace, I think I kind of want to go here and because I want to play for this coach and blah, blah, blah. I'm thinking that's already in your mind and you got to be talked out of something.
I would say you definitely have favorite. You have a thought in your mind as to what is important to you. Now, are the facilities important? Yes. To some players, the percentage of how important that is bigger than other players. There's no question about that. But the whole term visit, official visit versus non-official visit. I can tell you there are rare instances. Football would be a bigger example. Trying to recruit the state of Florida and get a bunch of those kids to drive their families or fly their families up here on their own dime and visit, the school at that point. Yeah, that's probably tougher to get Trey, or not Trey, but to get Trey Kaufman to drive down to Virginia. Yeah, it's a full weekend trip or whatever, but that's not, to drive to North Carolina and visit the campus on his own. If that's a decision that's that important to you, which it really is, it's a gigantic decision for these guys. It's not that big a cost for them to drive. There's a lot more unofficial visits than I think what people consider in this.
Well, but there's a lot of kids that can't afford that and don't have the means for that. So, it is, that plays to me, that does play a part.
And I'll just tell you, whether it's legal or not legal, which I don't know whether it is or not, but there are a lot of kids who go with their AAU coach or AAU program, and they will go in the past. Here's an example. If I had a kid on my AAU team that was going to be recruited by North Carolina,
but they're not having those camps. But they're not having any of that, though.
Just listen. Just hear me out. If we were doing that, we would schedule a tournament in North Carolina to go there and play. Now they are having that. They are doing this. Your AAU program, the Indiana Elite, could easily go to North Carolina right now and play in a tournament.
I think they're not, though, because of the travel. I think nobody's really doing that because of the COVID travel. They're staying all closer to home because of that, so they're not.
And they are, and I agree with you. But what I'm saying is, if Trey Kaufman right now went to the Indiana Elite and said, "Hey, I really want us to go down and look at North Carolina,"
they're not going to.
The Indiana Elite would schedule a tournament in North Carolina.
I disagree with you. They're not going to do that now during COVID. During a normal situation, they absolutely would do that.
Take my word for it. Because you know what Trey Kaufman would say? I shouldn't use names. You know what a big time recruit would say? Well, I'll go play for the Indy Heat then.
Yeah, I think I know that could happen, but I don't see that in this situation.
Go back and watch the scheme again and see how corrupt the AAU programs are.
I have no doubt about that. I have absolute agreement with you on that. Today, that's not going to happen. They're not going to North Carolina for a tournament. They're not going anywhere for a tournament right now.
There's Michigan, Wisconsin.
They're not going anywhere outside of this state. I promise you, they're not going.
But listen to me, Jim. They're in the tournament this weekend. There will be teams from Wisconsin and Michigan and Iowa and all those. Those teams are going somewhere.
You're right, and if that's the case, I'm shocked that those teams are traveling. But I would be shocked to see anybody travel right now.
Willie played 3 teams from outside of the state of Indiana last weekend.
See, there you go. That shows that I can't believe they're doing that.
Now they're closer than normal. Usually you'd see teams from Missouri and Dallas, Texas, and all over.
They're all over. Well, we see all these tournaments where you go everywhere, Las Vegas and everywhere. But yeah, I'm shocked. I'm honest. I'm humbly wrong, and I'm shocked to see that. I just think I don't see these teams
nutty.
doing it.
I agree with you, but that's when you got to look at. My whole point in all of that is I think we're overblowing the visit side of a kid making a decision, because if he's got to narrow down to 3 or 5 schools, even someone is going. You take a top level recruit, someone in an AAU program, and I don't think it's illegal, so I'm not saying they're corrupt. Someone in that AAU program could get that kid to that school for an unofficial visit to check it out.
I don't think it's allowed, but. They're not even allowed to do that right now, right, Alec?
I mean, again, you can't anything more on that kind of official side. Obviously, you won't be able to do. And coaches, when players do go to the campuses, especially obviously like on the football side, because you're not really seeing it on the basketball side right now. But the coaches can't even really say hi if they cross paths on campus, and obviously that's when I say anything more on that official side, just being able to have full access, to see the dorms that they're going to be living in, to actually go in the weight room, to see the locker room, to see all kind of this other stuff, kind of the intangibles that do set a program apart. Because let's be honest here, guys like Trey Kaufman, his end goal for the most part is to play professionally. I think we can all agree on that. In these top 40 players, top 50 players, even guys outside of the top 150, their end goal most likely is to play at some level professionally, whether that be overseas, in the NBA, G League, whatever that may be. And the only way they're going to get there for the most part is development. And I think, being able to see that weight room for some of these guys is that kind of that switch that kind of goes off in their head where they're like, okay, I knew I already loved IU. I knew, I've been on their campus a couple times, walked around it, loved the feel of it, but I'm just waiting for that one thing that really just sets it apart. And then they go in the locker room, or they go into their dorms where they're going to be living, and they're like, oh my gosh, this is much better than a mid-major or whatever when it comes like that. And I think
much better than Jackson Heights apartments.
Yeah. And obviously much different circumstances, but you saw a little bit of that with Jordan Geronimo last year, where, that was kind of the first big campus that he was on. And,
blew his mind. He wanted to commit immediately.
Yeah. And obviously different circumstances around that, but you could just see how excited he was in everything that went into that visit that just literally blew him out of the water, where he was ready to commit that day. And they basically told him, hey, just take a day, sleep on it, and make sure that decision is still at tomorrow. And obviously it was. So yeah. I think it's going to come down to obviously the player, and obviously the kind of family atmosphere. And for some of these guys like Trey Kaufman, it is a little bit more analytical. For some of these other guys, all it takes is, hey, I just want to get on campus. I just want to do this. And the one thing that we're not even talking about, these kids love to go on official visits. They love to be sitting courtside. They love to be driven around in the golf carts. They love to, be wearing all that athletic gear and coming to campus and seeing guys chant their names at games or anything like that. So
flown around the country, wine and dined.
Yeah, these are still,
And when you look at this, like these kids, yes, they're high profile athletes. They're big. They're going to be big time. But here's the thing: I think we almost forget that they're human beings. Also, it's almost like a first date. When you have a conversation with a coaching staff, you either kind of click and kind of hit it off, or it's kind of awkward and you kind of don't. And that is what truly the relationship between the coach and the player, the coaches and the players, and the other players that are currently there and the players is far more important than what the locker room looks like or what. Now, I'm not saying those things are not important, but that relationship that's established is far, far, far more important than that official visit that they make to the campus or the weight room or whatever it's going to be. And if it's awkward, it's hard to recover from that, to be honest with you.
Yeah. You only get one opportunity to make the first impression.
To make that first impression. That's right. It's true. And
that's a great point.
Yeah, a lot of times these kids are wowed right off the bat, and that's where you'll see a kid commit and then turn around and open his recruitment back up and decommit. That happens more in football than it does basketball, but you get my point.
Alec, what can the fans expect next for IU basketball?
Yeah, I mean, obviously football is really kind of taking the forefront in the past week here, but obviously, you know, we'll have some updates after this weekend, some notes based on, you know, how the guys are playing for anyone who, you know, isn't able to go there or watch it or anything like that.
Now people can stream this game, right? This weekend?
Yeah, there's a couple different ways to stream it.
And you'll have that on the Hoosier.com, I'm sure.
Yeah, we'll get that up this afternoon. So, you know, if anyone can't make it, they can obviously check it online, because obviously, you know, these games from 12 to 8 all day. It's literally like a full day of college basketball on Saturday. But I definitely don't want to miss it with guys from the 2023 class to obviously 2021, all a bunch of IU targets. So we'll have a lot coming from that weekend.
And you can download the USA Youth Hoops app, and it's listed under Battle of the Brands on there, and it'll show you all the teams playing and who they're playing and what time they're playing and where they're playing.
Big baller TV, baby. You see that everywhere on there. One last thing, No Gel Eastern to Howard. Did you see that?
Yeah, I think everyone kind of forgot about No Gel Eastern after the whole Michigan ordeal. But hey, I mean, Howard's going to be, you know, fun to watch next year with No Gel Eastern and McCurmaker. Definitely that duo is at least going to make it a lot more fun to watch. And, you know, I think already they have some notable non-conference games. So assuming we get, you know, a non-conference schedule, that'll be fun to see them on TV, which I'm sure they'll get some actual national recognition now, especially with some of these other younger kids looking into, you know, Howard and a lot of those other universities as well.
Todd, that would be like I'm trying to come up with a school and I can't. Like IUPUI landing a 5-star and getting an elite,
a big time
like
transfer.
Yeah, I mean, because I'm trying to think of a school in Indiana that level that doesn't have a lot of notoriety or success, and but you can't really say Evansville or
the pessimistic side of me wants to just sit here and be like, okay, there's going to be a whole new scheme program put together on Howard University basketball program, because sometimes things happen that just don't make any sense, and this doesn't make any sense.
Well, this is all born some of this, I think, out of the movement that happened this summer. It seems that's what McCurmaker's reasonings were, but it's going to make things exciting. Alec, appreciate it, brother. As always, make sure you give him a follow. He's at thehoosier.com, and you can find him on Twitter as well, at Al Ousley. Appreciate you, man, and have a great weekend.
You too. You guys watching the PGA Championship yesterday?
Oh, you know what? We had not gotten to that, and I did not. Who's doing what?
9 straight hours I watched it.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
It was awesome. I was just looking at the indentations my chair made in the floor over here in the rug, because I sat here for 9 straight hours and ate 2.5 bags of chips.
Yeah, no, I was right there with you. Yep.
Fact.
But it'll be a fun weekend with that, and then, you know, all basically every single sport you can possibly imagine is back on TV right now. So it'll be a fun weekend of just sitting on the couch and watching sports all weekend.
There's plenty to watch, man. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks a lot, Alec Lasley, joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat. We got more coming up from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. We'll get to it when we come back right after this.
Sweet but blood is thicker. Oh, if the sky comes falling down.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville.
pizza, burgers, beer. We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. This is Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary. Indiana Sports Beat is now a part of the Rivals Network. You can go to thehoosier.com to sign up. It's free. Catch the show there each day live or at your convenience. You can also like or follow us on Facebook, follow the show's rebroadcast anywhere you podcast. If we're not on a radio station where you live, we should be. Let your local station know they need to carry Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary, or simply go to thehoosier.com.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic, safe, effective, even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
Hey, this is Jordan Halls, former Indiana Hoosier. Keep up with Indiana sports on Indiana Sports Beat.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this Friday. Man, it is fun having sports to talk about, and it's just fun. There's just all kinds of stuff. I can't wait to get to some of it. I mentioned earlier, Ryan Day, Jim Harbaugh feud rekindled. I can't wait to get to that one. Wow. That's going to be.
I didn't hear about that one.
Oh yeah, we're going to have fun talking about that one, especially in the overtime period. We are going to get to do an overtime period today. So if you're listening on radio, go to the podcast for that. Yeah, the fun stuff. We'll get to that. Notre Dame and Navy. They have played since 1927. That is 93 years. Not happening this year.
Did they play during World War II?
Yeah, that's a great question. It doesn't say they played 93 consecutive years. I would imagine that they did take off, especially since they were playing Navy.
I would
Navy was kind of busy. I would think that they were kind of busy during that time.
You would think so.
Great question. But yeah, probably because you just figure up. I'm not doing the math. It's 2020. Well, that is 93 years. So unless they're saying that's consecutive, I don't know. But oh well, that's tough though. I mean, that's life. I mean, that's what happens when you got to join a conference. That's what happens when you're not, and you can't do whatever you want to do. Notre Dame.
Yeah, this is a scenario of it sucks because we all love. Like take the Indy 500 for example. Every single year, Fox 59 or Channel 8 or Jake Query or somebody runs a story about somebody that's been to every single 500 since they started. Since what is it, 110 of them now or 115? They've been to every single 500 or whatever, and they're not going to get to go to it this year. I mean, those streaks come to an end. It sucks, but it's a way of life. It's the way it is.
Well, Jimmy Johnson did not get to race in Indiana, the Brickyard 400 this year. First race he has missed, I think, in his career, and it was because he had a positive COVID test and he was negative like the day after, and he was good to go. And you're like,
and he was going to be driving in a car all by himself too. That's the crazy part.
Exactly. with wind going by at 3,000 miles an hour. So yeah, craziness.
I get. But had he raced and somebody else, there'd been an outbreak, they would have all blamed it on that. It's like the Marlins thing, and I'm not saying what they did was okay, but I mean, unless you can exactly trace where these people got it from, it is, it's just tough to point the finger. What's right and wrong right now? What's right and wrong right now is difficult to say when it comes to what you can and can't do.
I don't want to forget Christian Lander's birthday is this Sunday. Happy birthday, Christian.
Is he going to be 15?
Nope, turning 18.
Turning 18. That was a joke. I just know how young he is.
Well, a lot of people have been wondering that because they were wondering, when's he going to be eligible for the NBA draft? Well, yeah, he'll be eligible for next year's draft, but I can tell you right now that's not going to be a problem, mainly because 14,000 guys this year that were thinking about going have decided not to go, and they're going next year instead. Next year's not the year for kids to go into the draft that are not really in that top half right now, because there's going to be more coming at you.
Let's look at it this way. If he is, and I'm not saying he's not capable of making this happen, but if he is going to be drafted in the first round for sure next year, he's going to have had one heck of a year at Indiana, and we'll all probably be okay with that.
An Isaiah Thomas type year.
Yeah. I mean, and Isaiah Thomas's sophomore year kind of year.
Yeah. So, but we'll see that. I saw that Trace Jackson Davis is listed prognosticated a mid second round. That's not going to. That won't pull him out. I think that he won't leave until he is a first round pick wisely. But anyway, yesterday, Indiana Athletic Director Scott Dolson and Tom Allen. We did Zoom meetings with both those guys, but separate, of course. Scott Dolson, first time we had gotten to speak with him, actually since he became athletics director. But he talked about a lot of things, most of it, of course, COVID related. But let's hear what Scott had to say.
But all of our sports that have been back, it's just a whole new world. And I think when they first came back, wearing masks and the morning checks and all the protocols. And again, I commend our medical staff. We've got 2 people internally from our senior staff that have really headed up the process, Stephen Harper and Becky Panny, and again with Dr. Andy Hipskin, our CMO, putting all those protocols in place. I think when the student athletes came back, I think at first it was an adjustment for sure. It took them back, but after that adjustment period, things become routine. And
that was athletic director Scott Dolson talking about all the things they're having to go to. Can you imagine? First of all, becoming an athletic director of a D1, a Power 5 D1 program, and to do it during all this, that is crazy on the job, a nightmare. I mean, wow. And Kevin Warren, the same thing for Kevin Warren, just coming in as Big Ten commissioner, and this is what
the reason why I can't imagine it is because there's nothing really to base it off of. This has never happened before in this scenario, and I'll say I've known Scott Dolson for a long, long time, for 30 years. And this is a dream job for him. This is something he's worked for since probably the day he graduated from Indiana University. And he comes in the most difficult possible time there is. And I'll tell you, I don't think Indiana could be in better hands. I don't think they could have someone that cares more about the athletes, the program, all the programs, all the coaches, and all the fans. And so, we're going to come out of this as good as we possibly could, because I think Scott Dolson is the person. And he's already got the job. I'm not advocating for him for anything. I just feel super comfortable and safe because I think Scott Dolson will make the right decisions when it comes to, what should or shouldn't happen.
I agree. But he seems to be managing quite well. Indiana doing a very good job. They've had very, very few tests.
Yep.
Talked about
positive tests, right?
I don't think if we were on the air when I mentioned this, but Louisville soccer, a very high profile. They're a very good soccer program. They kicked 3 players off the team for COVID violations. Now, I believe that all 3 of these players, none of them are stars or anything of that nature. And I saw Rick Moses
and one thing with all 3 of them, they all had prior issues, disciplinary issues with the team. Yeah, so you kind of get that. That's addition by subtraction.
Normally, all you hear is violation of team rules,
right?
And that's all you get. And then you're left to speculate. Well, at least we didn't have to speculate this time.
But they credited these 3 with hosting the party, and the negligence involved in doing such. And I think they set a tone right now for what's not going to be allowed.
I think these three kids are basically the sacrificial lambs for the rest to say, hey, this is what's going to happen to you if you don't pay attention and do what you're supposed to do. Because I think that they picked three guys that are, again, not stars, they're probably not going to play, and they can make an optical point that is good for college athletics. I hate it for these three kids, but I got to say, I think this is needed for college athletics because I think these kids need to see it's a serious freaking deal, man, and it's on you. And yeah, it sucks that you're going to college right now and you don't get to go party and all that. But guess what? None of us get to do anything. We're all not doing anything. We're all stuck. So it sucks for all of us, but hopefully –
okay, so let me just play devil's advocate for a minute. So when you see a high school right now that goes back to class, that goes back to in-class sessions, and you look at the hallway, like I saw the pictures of someone posted yesterday on Twitter about this is the hallway at their high school, and it was just packed full of kids walking up and down the hall in between classes. What's the difference between that and a party? I mean, I look, what happened at Louisville can't happen. They can't do that. They've got to be more responsible. If they want to have a season, we keep hearing the athletes and coaches say this. If we want to have a season, you got to wear a mask. You got to social distance. You got to do all these things. You can't go to parties and do that. But if you want to play the flip side of it as one of these kids, they look at it and they say, hey, you know what? My brother went to high school yesterday with 5,000 other kids. Why can't we have a party? I mean,
party on, Wayne.
Can you answer that? I mean, can you answer? I don't have an answer. I'm an adult, and I don't have a good answer for why that shouldn't be allowed. If kids can go, I mean, my son's getting ready to start high school at Carmel next week with 5,000 other kids.
You just said the magic words. I'm an adult, and adults get to say because I said so.
Because I said, do as I say, not as I do. Yeah, that's why we become parents, right?
Something else I want to talk about before we run out of time on the air here and get to the overtime period. But Ryan Day and Jim Harbaugh are at it, baby. And apparently this happened on a coaches conference call yesterday, a Big Ten football coaches conference call. Harbaugh interrupted Ryan Day, the head coach at Ohio State, and accused them of cheating because you were not allowed to work out with any players prior to X date. And apparently there's a picture showing one of Ohio State's coaches doing something. And he interrupts Ryan Day and charges about, what about this? You're cheating. Well, apparently Ryan Day afterwards, he told him, you worry about your team, I'll worry about mine. And but apparently in a team meeting afterwards, he told them that his team, that they better pray that there's no mercy rule because they're going to hang 100 on their backsides this year. And buddy, wow, you think that the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry couldn't get any bigger? And why is Jim Harbaugh poking the bear? Does he not know he's 0-5 against Ohio State?
Well, if he doesn't remember the week of that game, he'll be reminded 750,000 times. Yeah. I got tired of hearing it last year. And I think it's kind of comical.
Oh my God! I can't. This is gonna, and especially since we don't have as much going on this year, we're gonna focus. Oh man! And that game's getting moved up. We don't have to wait until the end of the season.
Yeah, how early was that? I
think it's like
October
23rd
or something like that. Yeah,
I think it's about a month sooner, 4 games sooner. So, oh man. The spark. Oh my gosh! I mean,
you know what? You know what's tough though. I mean, think about it. What are you doing if you're Jim Harbaugh? Like your team is not going to be competitive with them this year. This is not like you've got Justin Fields.
I don't know that they're going to. I think Indiana could beat Michigan this year. Michigan is not going to be. I don't think Michigan's not going to be Michigan even.
You can't name their quarterback.
No, I don't,
because I can't either. I mean, none
care
of us
to, but yeah, they haven't had, since Jim Harbaugh's been there. That's been one of their problems. He has not had a really good quarterback. He doesn't, and that's on him. But oh man, I'm going to be excited for the next 2 months, just waiting for that week. Not just the game.
If you're Jim Harbaugh, if you're that guy and you're 0-5 against the team you have to beat,
what are you doing?
Why would you? piss them off. Like,
Oh,
I don't get it. Go
It's
pick
crazy.
on Northwestern. Go pick on Northwestern or Rutgers or somebody.
Well, but to do it in the way he did it, a little mind-boggling. I mean, it wasn't a public forum, but to do it in front of your other coaches, that is
wait a minute.
completely
If that was on a
disrespectful.
Zoom call, and one of those people didn't didn't screen record what was going on and play that thing on YouTube, they're crazy.
I think it was a conference call, but
Whatever.
But I don't think anyone's allowed to do
Those
that,
things are all recorded. You know that.
Well, you'd think.
Just ask
You'd
Alexa or whatever. She's got it recorded.
Yeah, I'm glad that mine can't hear you say that. I can't even say her name because it's sitting close by me, and it'll start talking. I swear, I've had that happen before.
Alexa,
it's nuts.
tell Jim to be quiet.
Well, good thing I have my headphones on and it cannot hear me because it would have heard you and it would say that probably. Would not be a bad idea because I'm about to get there, but we're going to have the overtime period. The show's about wrapped up on air if you're listening on radio, but you can go to the podcast and listen to the overtime period, which is coming up next. I want to thank Alec Lasley for joining us from thehoosier.com. Make sure you go there for complete coverage of IU athletics in the Big Ten. We heard from Scott Dolson. We'll get to Tom Allen here in the overtime period or next week. But, of course, you can go to thehoosier.com and the complete workup from his entire press conference is on there. But looking forward to the weekend, a big game, Indy Heat, Indy Elite. If you're looking for something to do, we got that. We got the PGA to talk about, too, coming up next. But thank everybody. We appreciate you guys. For Todd, I'm Jim Coyle. And until next Monday, wear your mask, do something nice for somebody, and I'll see you on the radio. Hey, welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Overtime. Been trying to do this for a little bit. We keep having stuff come up, and we may have stuff come up in the future. But we were doing 2 hours before, but of course during COVID we cut back, and then to make it just easier for the radio hour, we just start doing the hour and then cutting out earlier. But we'll try to throw some overtime stuff in for you, especially because this is podcast only here. The first hour is heard on radio stations, and so we have to make sure we dot the I's and cross the T's and don't say shit and stuff like that. And, it just seems so weird. And that's not a habit I want to get into because it scares me to death of saying something inappropriate when you're on the air. But at least we know we can do that and not get in trouble right now.
We all know I have the Bob Knight vocabulary.
Oh, well, be around me. I got news for you. I'm right there with you. But, yeah, man. Jim, this Jim Harbaugh and Ryan Day thing is going to be outstanding. The actual quote was, "We're going to hang 100 on their ass," and I guarantee I like to have heard the rest of it because I cannot imagine how pissed off Ryan Day had to be and how much he's probably not. He's probably sitting here thinking the same thing we are. What the hell's wrong with this dude? He's a moron. He's looking to get his ass kicked. I mean, he's trying to get his ass kicked worse than he was already going to. I would not be surprised to see them run the score up on them. I mean, you want to talk about you're playing your rival that you already hate. I mean, and you got a coach there that you hate. That's not always the case. I mean, nobody hates Matt Painter. There's no reason to hate Matt Painter. He's at Purdue, and yeah, we'll all make fun of him.
No, Jell Eastern might hate him.
Well, I meant from a fan standpoint on his side.
I'm just kidding.
Nobody hates Matt Painter. Why? He's a nice guy. Now. When Gene Cady was there, it was different. For one thing, he won a lot more, and he won Big Ten titles, but he just had that natural thing going back and forth with the night, and it was great. Man, we don't have that anymore, and it kind of sucks. But Jim at Ohio State and Michigan.
Jim Harbaugh is one of those people, and there's not very many. There's a lot of people who profess to be like this, but they're not really this way. In that I feel, and I don't know him personally, but I feel like he truly doesn't care. He's not trying to make friends. He's not trying to be nice. He's not trying to, to be buddies with other coaches or anything. Like, he truly doesn't care what people think. And this is just a scenario of it's not a matter of whether he cares what Ryan Day thinks or not. This is just not a great situation to put yourself in.
Or your players.
There's not very many games you can say they're not going to win this game. And that's a game you can say, unless he's got a secret weapon we don't know about, he's got an Ivan Rinko quarterback hidden that we didn't know about.
How much money is going to be bet on that game for Ohio State to cover whatever freaking spread they put out? And now that's going to put pressure on Las Vegas because let's say the normal spread was going to be 14. You know that they're going for 40 freaking 8. So I don't care what the spread is. I'm betting big on that game.
Well, you look at it, and as a coach at Michigan or Ohio State, no matter what year it is, that's a game. Even if you kind of had your own inner mercy rule where you didn't want to play against Northwestern and beat them 79-0, or remember Wisconsin a few years ago against Indiana, wasn't it 81-0, some ridiculous number? That's not a game that you have that filter. That game, as a fan, for your fan base, when you go talk to the alumni clubs and all the different things, you want to be known as the coach that beat Michigan by 70. You want that game to be talked about for years. Now they just added fuel to the fire. And it really is a situation that, this was not the year for Jim Harbaugh to poke that bear. I'm with you.
I'll have to go back and look at the schedule I pulled up. I think it's at Michigan too. They won't have fans there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But Tim sent in a beautiful picture from Lake Nolin. He's listening to us right now live down there. What a beautiful – man, it looks amazing out there right now. Must be beautiful outside. Going to be a beautiful day. A beautiful day for the PGA boys who are out west. That got underway yesterday. I know you said you spent 9 hours in front of the TV watching the PGA. Plenty of golf action.
I have to specifically go to the grocery store this morning to buy more chips because I think I ate every chip that was in the house. It was ugly. October 24th, Michigan at Ohio State. At Ohio State.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. How you feel about that?
It doesn't really matter where. They could have played this thing in Louisville or St. Louis. It's not going to matter. They are going to stick it as far as they can.
You're never. I don't really care who it is. I feel confident in saying this. I don't really care what you think of a person or who it is. There's not going to be a coach where they're going to come out and they're going to say, "Hey, I want you to physically hurt the guys on the other team. Like I want you to take the quarterback out or do that." I don't think that's a thing.
No, they want to hurt one person, Jim Harbaugh.
But I do think the coaches would say, "Look, I want you to hit them as absolute hard as you can. I want them to remember this game for the rest of their lives." And that being said, I think Indiana plays Michigan, if not the week after, 2 weeks after they play Ohio State.
Oh, after who plays Ohio State? Michigan?
Michigan.
Oh, okay. It would be nicer to have them the week before. That's when you want them. Because they're thinking.
Or the week after, they might not be able to move. They might be so sore they might not be able to play.
It's certainly going to be interesting because Indiana gets Michigan at home this year.
Yeah.
And again, no fans, but I think that's part of Indiana's problem on the road. You go to Michigan, you go to Penn State, you go to Ohio State.
Indiana does play Michigan the week before the Ohio State game.
Week before
October
Michigan
17th,
plays Ohio State?
October 17th, IU has Michigan at home.
You could not have asked for a better
You
scenario.
just asked for it, and you got it.
Bam! There you go. All right, there's my upset special right now. I'm picking Indiana to beat Michigan this year.
I'm telling you, I would have rather it been the week after. I don't think they would have been able to play.
I think that their mind is going to be elsewhere. You want to mental man. Oh, that's perfect. You couldn't ask for anything better. It's set up. Indiana's got. If they don't do it this year, it's going to be really infuriating too. On top of it, but man, that's a perfect scenario. That's a perfect storm. You couldn't have asked for anything better. Tom Pritchard's got a birthday tomorrow, and Matt Roth. Happy birthday to those guys. So happy for them. So, but yeah, looking forward to the football season. I'm telling you, I'm excited about it. I really am. Everybody's like, "Oh, we're not going to have it." You got to stop being negative. Let's go forward being positive and enjoy it. And if it happens, well, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I'm planning on everything happening.
Don't cancel it in your mind until.
I mean, we can watch it on
happens.
TV, but I got to be honest with you. Even as a credentialed member of the media, I don't know. That's also going to be trimmed down. They're not just cutting fans out. There's going to be less media allowed in the press box. And I'm like,
you mean because of distancing?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I've already said it. And I mean substantially less. So
But I mean, you don't really need to be in the press box if there's no fans in the stands.
Well, it's not about that. It's about the post and getting post-game interviews and
I'm saying I would be surprised if they limit the media. I'm surprised they wouldn't make it unlimited media.
Well,
because they want it covered as much as possible. Just my thought. I mean, it's just you're probably right. They probably are going to limit it.
I hope. We'll see. I hope. Rondale Moore, we talked about earlier. Man, that is a freaking blow to Purdue. And that's a blow to Purdue, and it helps the rest of the Big Ten. It helps Indiana. It helps anybody that's playing them. But, man, oh, man. Whoo.
Look at their basketball and their football program. They lose Nogel Eastern and Matt Harms in basketball to the grad transfer rule, and they lose Rondale Moore to COVID related sit out issues, which I don't blame him. That they've taken a beating. I mean, Indiana has been lucky up to this point. I mean, they've lost Justin Smith to the transfer rule, grad transfer rule. Beyond that, I don't think we've seen a whole lot. Now, it's so early, Jim. Like I almost hesitate to even say that because, I mean, what if Whop Phillier sits the year out? What if? You could just go down the line. There's 4 or 5 different guys. What if? I don't think Mullins would sit the year out because he's not eligible to go to the NFL anyway next season. But I mean, what if a Tywan Mullins sits a year out? Devastating it would be.
Oh, absolutely. But you pointed out something out. Indiana on both football and basketball are coming back really strong.
Yeah.
Football has got, the most returning players of anybody in the league. Basketball is one of the teams that has everybody back. Now, of course, everybody else seems to be getting everybody back now in that regard too, in basketball. But it's going to be fun no matter what. Maybe it makes it a much more fun football season. Maybe this makes it a much more fun basketball season because of these changes. Maybe it's more exciting at the end of the day. Maybe, and that could turn out to be the case. And let's hope for that.
Well, I mean, what you're saying sounds like we're trying to make a good situation out of a bad, except for look at the TBT. I mean, I know I keep referring back to that, but the TBT a year ago was it's on, I'll catch the finals or whatever. This year we were riveted watching every game of every session, from the beginning to the end. And so it made it more exciting. So who's to say that it couldn't make college football more exciting? I don't know. This situation, if I were Trevor Lawrence's dad, I would request that he sit out. If I were Rivers, what's Justin Fields? If I were Justin Fields' dad, I would request him to sit out. I really would.
We'll see how that goes. The PGA
Rondale Moore, I don't blame him for sitting out.
Well, he's suffered. The deal with him is injury. Too many injuries. He's like, yeah, I can't. And he is. He's special. He is. He's a special.
He is special. He is. He's going to get drafted based on the body of work he put out as a freshman.
Yeah,
that is fact.
PGA Championship round 2. If you want to do some betting, Bobby Sheridan sent me some. He's got Justin Rose at plus 2,800 and John Rahm plus 3,300.
To what? To win?
I don't know. That's a live win wager.
I mean, how do you
live win wager? Yeah, live win
bets
wager.
On golf?
Hey, man.
I mean, that's just weird.
People do. Who do you think's going to win that? Who do you think wins this?
Xander Schauffele.
Really? That's a great one to pull out of.
You want to know why? He's pissed off. You want to know why he's pissed off?
I do.
Because during Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, before the tournament actually starts, they even on Golf Channel, they have these guys on there and they do their press conference. They come in for a press conference. And they don't do all 158 players or however many people are in it. They do like the top 20. Xander Schauffele finished, I'm going to say, in the top 10 in at least 2, maybe 3 of the 4 majors last year. And they didn't have him do a press conference. And I'm sure he would never publicly say it pissed him off, but it would piss me off if I was him.
We'll find out. We'll get to watch.
So he came out yesterday. What did he shoot yesterday? He came out yesterday with a smooth 4 under. He's 1 shot back. Yep, that's my pick. Xander Schauffele's a winner.
Indy Sports Talk, I've seen on Twitter that the Pioneer Football Conference, which includes Valpo and Butler, canceling conference competition for the fall. No big surprise. We've seen a lot of the Division II, Division III, NCAA championships canceled, all that stuff. Do you know why we're not seeing this because this is where the money's made. This Division I football and et cetera, this is where the money is made, and they can't have football without having the other sports.
Well, and those look, college, IU football, Ohio State football, the big time conferences can still survive off of the TV money. Now, they're not going to thrive in it, but they can survive off the TV money. Those other conferences don't play on TV. They don't have TV money. They don't have that kind of TV money. So you're exactly right. They almost are forced to cancel their seasons in sports because they can't do it. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean that their coaches don't get paid? Because if their coaches are still getting paid, it's the scholarships away from kids. So they still incurring the cost. I don't know.
I see that the NCAA president, Mark Emmert, Muppet Mark, will be on with Andy Katz sometime today. So when is that going to happen? This week. So who knows? Who cares? Doesn't matter what they say because I know what's going to happen. I mean,
it can change. It changes by the minute, so it's hard to get too amped up over what he's going to say on there. He's not going to give out any. All of a sudden, he's not going to make an announcement today about college football or anything crazy.
Nope. Appreciate everybody joining us. It's been another great week. Looking forward to having some sports to talk about. Man, we ought to have all kinds of stuff to talk about on Monday. Of course, the Indy Heat, Indy Elite, it'd be one of the prime deals that I want to see. I can't wait to watch that matchup, man. That's going to be fun. Of course, you got PGA, you got all kind of NASCAR, the Indiana
Bryson
guys.
DeChambeau's getting ready to tee off 5 minutes.
Better hit it up. Appreciate everybody joining us. Thanks a lot to Alec Lashley again, Todd, Jimmy, and I'm Jim Coyle. Wear your mask. Do something nice for somebody. So until Monday, I'll see you on the radio.